So tell us about what aquafaba is and how you use it.
I love Aquafaba. I call it liquid gold. So Aquafaba is the liquid from a can of chickpeas. So if you've ever opened up a can of chickpeas and seen kind of that jelly liquid in there, this is do not discard it. It is incredible. So it actually can replace egg whites in recipes or eggs in a lot of baking recipes. And the craziest part about aquafaba is it's a meringue substitute. So if you whip it up with a hand whisk or a stand mix, it will whip and foam to the consistency of meringue, and you can even bake it to make meringue cookies. So just incredible. But a couple of uses and a couple of recipes I have with it in the book. I use it in place of eggs in a cake recipe, in a wacky cake recipe that's so delicious, and it actually replaces the oil as well and creates a moistness in the cake that's just phenomenal. I have the meringue cookies in there, and then I have an amazing chocolate mousse. So if you whip it up with some dark chocolate, a little bit of sea salt, absolutely phenomenal aquafaba. And then final thing I want to say about aquafaba is you can actually use it to bread things. So oftentimes when I'm making tofu and I want it to be crispy, you can kind of coat it in the aquafaba as a egg white sort of replacement there, and then put it in your breadcrumbs, and you're off to the races there.
Oh, wow. Who knew? What about other bean liquids, though? Do they work just as well?
So I haven't actually explored this, but I get this question a lot. I think part of the issue with beans is the aquafaba can take on the flavor, whereas chickpeas are so neutral, right? So they're not going to have that kind of beany flavor. I'm sure it's fine to consume, and it probably could work if you're using, say, a white bean for like a savory recipe, for example. But I don't know about the like sweet recipes because if they taste like beans, that's not necessarily what we're going for.
No, you're right. Not in that wacky cake of yours. You mentioned something about freezer, putting things in the freezer, and I noticed that you when you want to make a broth, you'll use every vegetable that's left, and so you put them in the freezer for when you make broth. Do all vegetables do okay for that? Is that an opportunity for us to save to make use of some vegetables that we know we're just not going to eat for some reason or another?
Yeah, so I call this a scrappy broth, and it actually is inspired by Rachel Ray. I used to watch Rachel Ray's 30-minute meals growing up, and she would always, and I tell this tip to everybody, cuts down on cooking time dramatically. She would always have like a scrap bowl while she was cooking. And I don't know what she would do with the scraps, but it inspired me because it's something I do when I cook. I'll just have a bowl in front of me where all the scraps go into. And rather than discarding those scraps, most of them, and I'll go into which ones I wouldn't recommend, can be used to make a delicious, really nutrient dense broth. And I like to almost compare it to a vegan bone broth. Like it will be a lot of minerals and a lot of nutrients. You don't need bones in there to create a beautiful, delicious sipping broth. So some things that work really well: onion skins, garlic skins, even the inners of like bell peppers, potato skins, any spices like parsley, the ends of parsley, ginger, garlic. All of those that are have like an aromatic feel to them are going to do really well in a broth. Some things you might want to stay away from if you're sensitive to bitter flavors, and also if things can go mushy would be like broccoli stems are going to create bitterness, potentially cabbage, and something like zucchini and cucumber scraps are just too mushy to go into a broth like this. So what I like to do, and like I use onions and garlic every day. So I'll throw all of the scraps into a bag until it's full. So a reusable Ziploc or just a Ziploc bag, pop that in my freezer. When it's full, I'll dump it into a stock pot, add water till it's above it, bring that to a boil. I love to add turmeric. Turmeric gives such a beautiful color to this broth. And then you can add some black pepper, which helps with absorption of the helps with the absorption of the antioxidants in turmeric if you add black pepper. So then I will bring that to a boil and let it simmer for however long, maybe 3 hours at on low on your stove. And then you can bottle that up and you have a beautiful broth. And you've really gotten all the life you can out of those scraps in one fell swoop.